Play something.
Very good. And Marc
Welcome.
is in a recording studio.
Yeah, I know. I have my guitars behind me. Yeah, my collection. Hey, everybody. Welcome to IoT Coffee Talk.
What's happening?
It's World Cup, right?
Yes.
And AWS reInvent week.
Yeah, indeed, in Vegas, right?
Vegas, baby.
Yeah. Have you been listening?
Yeah.
Are they shutting down the IoT thing or not? Not yet.
I don't know. I'm just kind of, listening in and out. I haven't paid 100% attention to it, but I watched a few of the keynotes and they're interesting, and a lot of the stuff becomes incremental. You watch so many of the stuff throughout the year. It's, and then you attend a lot of the briefings, the analyst briefings, and it's like, okay, well, I already knew. Yeah, I either already knew that the stuff was going to be announced, or it's just an incremental thing from last year. But I don't know. I mean, they're doing some really interesting stuff on the silicon system side, which should worry some of the chip designers.
Tell us more of this. Can you evolve?
Well, no, I mean, if you look at what they're doing with Nitro, their whole series of like what they would call purpose-built or designed, SoCs, processors, Graviton, most prominently. I mean, these are all custom designs that AWS is developing, and this takes away market share, especially for hyperscalers. Hyperscale market share away from the likes of NVIDIA and Intel and others, right? And so they're becoming big systems players, not just, you can't look at it just in terms of chips, because something like, Nitro and what they're doing in terms of designing these custom data center platforms, quite honestly, it competes directly with, like, for instance, what NVIDIA is doing with Project Grace and a lot of the data center system architectures that they've been developing, right? And so it's a really interesting development. And the advantage Amazon has, or AWS has, is they have a production environment and customers that they directly work with, and so
But you mean dog fooding?
They've made some smart moves.
Or customers? You mean dog fooding? I mean that they use these themselves on their data centers?
Well, they have an interface with their customers that they work directly with, but also they run a massive cloud environment, right, and operations. And so, a lot of the innovations that they're driving into their system designs are from actually operating a massive hyperscale set of data centers across the world, right? And providing all these different types of instances, as well as architectures for distributed cloud computing, and all the way to now, they're moving out to the edge. So it's pretty interesting stuff, and they made a lot of bets early on. And, I think they have a bit of differentiation if you look at how they're situated in terms of the silicon versus Google or GCP and even Microsoft Azure. So Anyway, that's one of my takes.
That's a
Didn't
nice
they
summary.
announce something with Intel this week?
I'm sorry?
I seem to have seen when I was traveling this morning, I think some piece of news about AWS and Intel crossed my path, but I didn't get to read it. It was something written by Christina Rodriguez from Intel. Maybe it's not new. I just saw it today. You probably would know if they announced it this week.
All due respect to the Intel folks, I mean, I just don't find those types of announcements, earth shattering. They're not tectonic type announcements. Those are the things I go, okay, I know about it, and I kind of move on. It's this other stuff, especially the announcements on day 0 by DeSantis were really kind of telling. Those were the more important announcements where you can glean some, big picture insights into how AWS is playing and positioning itself. So anyway, but I haven't listened in on any of the IoT stuff. Later on, I'm going to be listening in on some of the telco related stuff, private networks and the stuff that they're trying to do with telco cloud. So anyway, so how about the World Cup? What's up there?
Lots of excitement. Lots of great games. Team USA still in it, and their next game is against the Dutch, and Team USA has a really, really good shot to show up the Dutchies this year. Have a young team, and it's gonna be awesome, I think. And as we all know, those of us that have been around the Middle East once or twice, and obviously those now without controversy, like all the building that had to happen in Qatar to accommodate the World Cup. But this is not about controversy. This is about IoT, and the amount of kit and IT infrastructure that's going into the stadiums, the amount of cutting edge things from the likes of Johnson Controls, from the likes of our friends at Microsoft, and they are talking about having tens of thousands of sensors in and around the stadium to manage the air conditioner.
Oh, wow.
Remember, middle of the desert, and yes, it's late November, December, but it's they have huge units there, and they want to make sure that the target temperature is 70 degrees everywhere. They have.
So is the humidity.
I don't know that the IoT can help for humidity, other than how humid it is, but surely there's sensors for that too. They've also deployed a digital twin of all of the electrical and plumbing system. So it's been super cool to read about IoT implementation in real time to deliver some sort of in-stadium experience, like we've seen here in the U.S. with automated facial recognition against your ticket, or automated concessions buying. So yeah, IoT is alive in the World Cup too. Woohoo!
Wow. Yeah. Only to be expected, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, your house is filling in, man.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's
with that.
Slowly but surely. It's amazing how much work that these guys have to do. So far we've got so the TVs have all been hung. So
really, all 20 or whatever.
Yeah. So we've got. Only one that's not hung yet is the one that's out on the patio. But a total of 8 of them have been hung. All of them are Ethernet connected. The router switch and backup power supply and everything is all upstairs in the network closet. I'm still waiting for the 2 racks to show up, because right now they've just got all of the equipment kind of sitting there. The first Josh microphones have been put into the walls. So that's cool. I'll have to send you a picture of them. They're like that big, and they're flush to the wall.
Yeah.
You can't see them.
Yeah, we do have to have that episode, which is the tour of Bill's smart home. Yeah. I mean,
what are the microphones for, Bill?
So I can control the house. There's going to be no boxes, no Spectrum boxes, no cable boxes, no boxes at all, and no remote controls.
I don't know, man. It sounds to me like you're taking jobs away with automation when you can just give me a lot of money and I'll do it for you. David, turn off the lights. David, I need a beer. I mean, I could personalize the experience for you, Bill, but you know what? Have your microphone.
You know what? I didn't even think about that when we were going through the bid process.
David as a service.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
a new definition for DAS.
Yeah, well, we were just on Bill and I were just on a podcast hosted by Bonnie Graham, and we were talking about smart homes, and it was interesting to hear Bill talk about how he's pretty much wired the whole system, right? It's there's only a few elements that might be wireless, but it's mostly the Wi-Fi just for devices, right? That connect to your network wirelessly. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation.
There's nothing wrong with wires. So look back to the World Cup. If you've I don't know if you those of you that have been watching, if you've caught it, but the coaches that are on the sidelines that are holding an iPad, if you look closely, when they're sitting down, there's a Ethernet to USB dongle into the iPads. They're dropping Ethernet. Why? For them, this is critical equipment.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And how do you deliver the best you can? You just physically attach it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you didn't have 75,000 people on that network, sure, I'm sure you can do it, wireless, but when you need it, you wire it up. That's it. Nothing wrong with wires.
Yeah.
But now in the Barcelona stadium, you have a very good 4G connection. Even if I have been there with 100,000 people, and you have a very good internet connection.
Yeah.
So they have been working and doing some research there for how to get cellular connectivity for everyone.
Well, it's interesting how over the past couple of years, 5G and cellular has gotten beat up quite a bit, right? I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with just the general consumer disappointment with what 5G has delivered. But I'll tell you, there's something about licensed, dedicated spectrum that is compelling that I think we may not appreciate, even though some of the folks who are in the 5G evangelist camp have been reminding us or have been pushing this. But when I was at my parents' house, there was something really interesting that I noticed. I guess the carrier that I use deployed mid-band in my parents' neighborhood. And before, I mean, the coverage was, and the service was horrible, right? But I was getting something like 400 megabits per second download on the downlink on my smartphone on the 5G network. My parents' Wi-Fi, which has a pretty good, cables, ISP service. I think they get something like 250 megabits up and down, right? Symmetrical. You can only get like 100 megabits per second over Wi-Fi, and it's super unreliable. But think about that for a moment. When that 5G connection actually is more reliable than the home Wi-Fi, and those APs are right in your house, right? And if you walk out, my parents' home is on top of a hill, right? And it's actually a really odd location where you wouldn't assume that you'd get a lot of great coverage, because historically they didn't get good cell coverage, right? But I was pretty blown away. And you put that kind of network in a public venue, and you get a lot of headroom for reliability and performance, right? That I think has become underappreciated. So who knows? Maybe 5G will have a comeback.
It's funny. I don't think it's fun. I just think it's underappreciated by the end users because they don't care, right? And it's overly appreciated by those of us that know the type of kit and infrastructure that needs to be there to connect them in the first place. But now it's very typical of all these stadiums, especially here in the US, to deploy some sort of neutral host, because if you are Stadium X, you want to cater to all users. You don't want to just cater to carrier A, B, or C's users. So between neutral hosts, private license for something that the stadium deems critical, plus existing Wi-Fi, I think we're seeing a combination of, instead of back in the day where you had one network that was just saturated and it sucked for everyone, now there's more networks and more not slicing but separation, right? Because I'm on carrier A, you're on carrier B, there's also Wi-Fi,
right?
And there's a neutral host, so things are beefed up. I think the result is that those of us that are going with smartphones into venues with tens of thousands of people are having a better experience now than, say, 5-6 years ago, where I remember every time there was, think Super Bowl or World Series, you would see all the telcos with cell on wheels, outside of the stadium or a couple of blocks, right, to try to take that capacity and keep it from reaching the stadium so that the people in the stadium will have a better experience. Since that's all moving in, you have all these, small cells being closer to the seats. VP areas get targeted first. So anyway, I think we're finally getting to where, connectivity of many kinds is just really, really, really good, in stadiums today.
Yeah, and I think the penetration of 5G modems in endpoint devices, especially smartphones, that's the other thing that is helping, right? Whether it's just what do you call it, sub-6 or sub-6 plus millimeter wave. So,
but I mean, so a couple of things. I feel like what you said on one end is one thing. What David said on the other end is something else, right? Like in your parents' home or in anyone's home, whenever you're talking about, you get your ISP, the ISP drops you off a modem and a router.
Yeah.
Most people just accept that, and that's what they deal with, which is why you have such deteriorated performance in your home.
Yeah.
Because if you really want that experience, I got a gigabit connection, why am I only getting 350 meg?
Yeah.
Well, because that router is not optimized. You're not doing anything with separating SSIDs and everything like that. You're just like, dump it all in here, and I'm going to share this fiber with everyone else and everything like that. So that is one thing, to literally home network your home, or to network your home. And then on the stadium side, I agree with David in terms of the carriers all being there. But the problem is that I don't care what they say about 5G. QoS is not really going to make its way into that space. We can talk about the slicing and what that's going to do and everything like that, and it's synonymous with QoS. But I haven't seen that yet.
So back to Leonard's parents' home, they're still paying $60 a month for the router too, right? Right? They took that garbage from the local ISP. It came with spider webs. It came with analog inputs. It's got like rabbit ear antennas, and it hums like a microwave.
There you go.
Explains, okay? Well, that's on Leonard. You know what? Bad son, okay? Come on, man. Get him some cool gear. But Bill, the whole QoS thing. So again, like here, consumers are not going to get it. And what I mean is today, to my knowledge, on commercially available networks, there is no commercial agreement where I, as a consumer, can get anything for anything regarding QoS at the connectivity level, right? So if we're going to say QoS in a stadium, we are talking about a custom build. And again, whether it's license or Wi-Fi or something else, it's like, again, probably, and I don't know this, so I'm just speculating, but I bet that whatever network is powering the HVAC at all these stadiums in Qatar, I like to think that is a heavily dedicated network because right. Yeah. So that's the other thing, because I sometimes think about QoS, think that I understand what it is, but sometimes disconnect that's not for me. I'm a consumer. I'm a best effort.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And what I get is what I get. Yesterday one of my kids was on on a Zoom call, and she's like, it's lagging. And I'm like, what's going on? And, network connection unstable. Why? Well, because everyone else hopped in at the same time. And I'm like,
but this is because
it is what it is, huh? Yeah.
Internet in the US sucks. Probably you have to accept that.
As a general statement, yes, it's not the best. But if you live near a major city, it's decent. But it's really, but rural is quite tough, man. We do struggle.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have massive rural expanses in our country, right? So, and Europe is much more dense than the US.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but Marc, are you referring to wireline or wireless?
I think it's both.
Marc, were you referring to wireline or wireless?
Yeah, every time.
I think it's both. All of it.
Everyone was
the internet.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, it still comes down to networking your home properly. I mean, it really does, and irrespective of what your drop off, capacity is, networking your home is something that people just don't do. They I got an internet connection, let's go. And I mean, it's one of those things. So, not just by way of example, you've got multiple TVs in your home. They're all 4K. You got them all on at the same time. Everyone's streaming 4K content. Do you think that's not going to bring your network to its knees if you don't have it properly set up?
But most people don't know how to network their homes, right? I mean,
I think that's minimum, the level of education that needs to be
quite complex. I mean, the first thing to do is dimension your home, right? Dimension for all these screens. Yeah. That's kind of a basic thing that the operator should help you with. Dimension your house properly, to the house. But then within the house, and then it's a different story.
But do you think this is like electricity? That, hey, you need an extra electricity because you spend too much, or then they sell you like an extra layer of electricity, or?
Well, I don't know, Marc. I mean, I do, but the thing is that the experience is disconnected. And here's what I mean, at least in the US, if you go to a new address, you find who your provider is. I'll say that 8 out of 10 times you have one choice. You're lucky if you have two. When you have three, one of them is reselling the other guy's stuff. So it's really tough, right? But here's the thing. Okay, you put in your address, you qualify for a service, a speed that you're okay with for a price you could pay. They deliver the service. It's like, hey, here's your gear. And it stops. Now you pick up Bill's point, right? I want to maximize this. I'm going to buy my own router. I want Ethernet, so I'm going to bring a switch. I'm going to do all these things. Well, that's a separate thing. Bill happens to know this stuff. He happens to buy what, but it's completely disconnected. And you do have some companies. I won't plug them, but you have like an EC main gateway that talks to basically network extenders, if you would. And once one talks to another, it works pretty well, and you configure everything from your mobile phone.
Yeah.
But again, completely different. And if you don't know about it, you're just going to struggle like the rest of the people. Is it that we don't know? Is it that we don't care? Is it that good enough is good enough? I don't know.
But from that point of view, it's no different in Europe or anywhere else, right? It's no different.
Yeah, if you want a professional installation the main difference in Europe is that the flats are like 1/10 of the houses in the US, right? So we don't have those problems. Just with the random router that the telcos give you, everything works, right? So
But you know what? And I'm sure that the same is true in Europe. But I know that a piece of business that the cable companies, saved, I mean, it has to be in the billions, is, remember that the boxes that we used to get back in the day for cable and internet, when you needed an update or something new came in, that means you need a new box. Mm-hmm. Like someone had to come to you to change this box that had the new features, until someone figured out, hey, what's this OTA stuff? What if? Hear me out. I know, I'm going to sound crazy, but what if we can do updates to the same box? And I didn't have to stock thousands of them and have a driver, knocking in people's homes. And now we don't think about that, but that's how it used to be, back in the day. And
and still is. But I remember speaking with this the Spanish telco about talking about the routers and how they could enable their routers to become like IoT gateways as well, in parallel with internet providers. And they were like, you know what, you're telling us to add some hardware on our routers. The cost of our routers is like $10. Doesn't make any sense to add $20 on the top of this. So the business model is not going to work.
Yeah, it boils down to
that's because that penny pincher, that bean counter, doesn't know the cost of a human, going to install the next box.
Yeah,
anyway.
Somebody missed the service element of it, and the value of the service versus the value of the hardware. The hardware is nothing more than just what you said, a gateway, right? It's literally the gateway. And so this is what I don't get about a number of the telcos where on one side they're talking about how they enable all of these other things. On the other side, they're like, don't add another cost to this thing, because we can't sustain that. When in essence, I would jump in and say, why don't you just give that piece of hardware away, turn everything else into a service? We can't even fathom that. They can't get out of the hardware. Hardware sells once.
Yeah. This is because, the people who is on this business, on the telcos, they don't understand this.
Yeah, but are people willing to pay for a connected home like we thought they would?
I think they are if it's actually done right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I have a question related with this for Bill and everyone. What do you think about Matter? I think we didn't talk about.
I think it doesn't matter.
Okay, bye. Have a good day.
You know what? I think Matter simplifies things for the device maker. And then whatever kind of benefit that it has, residual effect or halo effect it has for the quote unquote platform guys, then it's the benefit. But in terms of benefit to the consumer, it could simplify things. And Bill, you talked about, or you mentioned interoperability. There's that benefit, but those are technical architectural benefits, right? I think the big question still is how do you better living? It's not even about smart home, because one of my predictions that I put down was that the homes won't get smarter. The things in the homes will get smarter. Yeah. And what's more important is how those things manifest themselves into an application that solves problems and betters living. It's not about, how many devices you can throw into a home. It's how does a collection of devices collectively, in aggregate, better living. And one of the big problems is that no one really looks at those designs. What they do is they look at functions and features, and then they try to cobble something together, and then use a layer of personalization or configuration to maybe hone in on a couple of little use cases. But that rarely does anyone, does a consumer even know how to go through that process. A lot of that has to be packaged and made super intuitive or dumb in order to deliver these smart living solutions. And so that's one of the reasons why I put that prediction down, Bill, if you're ever wondering why. I know that Bonnie didn't select it. I thought she did a great job of selecting the predictions that she did, because your whole point on NLP was really cool. And, there was a tie with the smartwatch. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I just didn't explain it very well live. I was just like, crap, I didn't even prepare. I just wrote crap down and I'm going to wing it.
Andrea's question does matter. She asked, would the consumer be willing to pay?
I think they're doing it anyway. That's why I said I think they will.
You think so? Okay.
Well, yes, because here, look, we have unfortunately, the world did go through this, still reeling from the effects of the pandemic and the whole thing of holy crap, internet at home is really important because my job might depend on it, right? So now we have humanity is rethinking about connectivity, the quality of connectivity in their home like we weren't 2.5, 3 years ago. So are they willing to pay for it? I think yes, if they know, because it's back to my first comment of you sign up, ISP comes in, installs it, you're good to go. That is where the experience ends. And while I like to think that, Bill, to your point, there's going to be an ISP or a telco that says, hey, I have this bundle, right? You can just sign up, self-install, here it is. And here are these other options where if you care about home networking, we have options A, B, and C. A is just we're gonna make sure it works where you need it the most. B, we're gonna make sure that we'll go outside of your house because you have sensors or whatever. And C is we're gonna bring an electrician and we're gonna run Ethernet to the 2 or 3 places you need. But that's so hard to do in a big company that you guys are making me think of, maybe I'm going to put an ad on Craigslist and I'm going to do this locally. You think I'm kidding? I'm kidding? I'll write up a sound and I'll just put, a couple of $100 an hour and I do this. Hit me up.
Dude,
but you're talking about a paradigm shift here, David, in my opinion, right? Because if your high-speed internet provider starts creating these bundles and dumbfies things for you as an end user in the home, that's going to cost. Okay, so that's going to cost more. The simpler the stuff is, the more it costs, right? The packages. Just 1 second. Well, the paradigm shift you're talking about is the end user actually deciding to pay for that because of new reasons, which were not around 3 years ago, right?
I agree. But so again, and today they are not being presented. This bundle, This is an IoT Coffee Talk creation because we like to give free nuggets to the big companies.
Yes.
But where I think it's really tough, Andrew, again, it will be super simple if I, Dominican as a service or David as a service, I decided, what, in my area is these 2 ISPs, and I'm going to write up an offer and I'm going to go FedEx Kinko's and print a bunch of flyers. And I'm just going to say, hey, here's what I do if you're changing internet providers. Hit me up. To do something at scale for a company, do I use our people? Do we have our people? If we have our people, are they too expensive? Oh, it's too expensive. That's never going to work. Okay, let's go through a third party. Which third party? How long is that going to take? Who's going to make all those decisions? And by the time we're done, I took all of the market. Me and two guys in a couple of pickup trucks. These are things that might make sense outside of the ISP, frankly, right? This is why, you have little outfits, just say, you know what, this is something that I can do better.
Yes, I mean, this is exactly how it's worked with SCADA some years ago when, SCADA providers started, making proposals in their markets, in their states. And the reason I said that is I have a cousin who built his own SCADA company. Just one day he said, I don't want to work for anybody anymore. He did that about 20 years ago, and he took a big chunk of the Northeast for whatever he was doing. He and one engineer. That's it. He never had more than one hire. And they were doing parts of New Hampshire, parts of Vermont, a bit of Maine, Massachusetts. He made a great living like that. Yeah, but that was the SCADA market. So I think that's quite different.
But in this, I think to
utilities.
Yes. But to get back to your point, I think that we're missing an additional element, and that is the demographic. Who is it that is actually going to pay for this? And, so it's one of those things where I believe the millennials and Gen Zers are right there. Those are going to be the ones that are saying, you know what, I need this. Why? They expect connectivity. They expect to be able, they want things automated. I mean, I talked to my daughter about, the dial phones, and she's like, what the hell is that? Are you kidding me? I mean, my kids talk to their phones and say, call so-and-so.
What, memorize someone's number?
This is, they don't remember anybody's number.
I don't.
mean, you remember, we had to remember numbers.
Yeah.
I mean,
my wife.
I think that service is for them.
Yeah, my wife gets pissed off because I don't remember her number.
Exactly.
I go, honey, what's your number again?
I never learned my son's number. Yeah,
it's like.
So
I know my husband's because my husband's was created, when he got his account some maybe 15, 16 or 18 years ago. My son's was just in the last 10 years, so I can't remember those things that were created in the last 10 years because the phone remembers them for me.
Yeah.
Right?
But I bet we all know, raise your hand, I bet we all know our home phone number, like growing up.
Oh yeah. In Romania. And my best friend.
Yeah,
I remember it. Yeah.
It's in there, and you really had to, you really had to memorize it, and there was no digital means of saving that number back in the day.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
what's Bill? Oh, can I?
Oh no! You make your point. I want to go back to Marc's point about matter.
Okay, we'll go there.
No, go ahead and make your point. Yeah.
What I wanted to say was when Bill talked about the millennials and Gen Zs, yes, but that's the paradigm shift that I was referring to earlier. It's not just the connected home value proposition as we've known it, right?
No, it's changed. It's changed.
It's changed and it's changing, right? Because it's not just, we're talking about reliable connectivity to the home because you're at home working, right? Then you need to have everything. And maybe there are two of you working, right? But also while you're at home, you're spending a lot more time at home now than in the past. So you want to see things, or maybe you want things happening in your house that you never thought could happen before, right? In terms of the connected home. So now the value is created differently.
Yeah.
That's why I called it a paradigm shift.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Was it. Leonard?
So, no, that's cool.
Matter.
I'm glad we gave you. Yeah. So let's talk about matter. I mean, what do you think, Marc? I mean, you brought it up, so you obviously have a thought.
No, I basically read a lot of noise in the everywhere about I don't know if this is just a new brand for Zigbee and just a bump to the consortium and nothing else, and just a push towards as you say, the device manufacturers. Not sure about where it is going, or if it's just a connected home thing, it's gonna die again at some point.
I mean, like I said, I my perspective is I think it's a lot of noise. I was around when Zigbee SEP 1.0 was created.
Yeah.
And watched it go from there, and how it was going to use the meter as the gateway into the home, and all of that. And then there was Thread, and then there was Z-Wave, and then there was, I mean, you can go with the alphabet soup of any given protocol, and how it's going to save the connected devices. And I'm like, literally, get the hell out of here with that. At the end of the day, I want to say, I don't care. How do I do that? When you start discreetly connecting devices to your home, it's using a medium. Typically, it's Wi-Fi, or typically it could be broadband over power line. It could be any one of those things. I don't care. I just want it connected. And when I want the messages, it gets important when I want devices to talk to devices and that interaction. So the level of data fusion that you're talking about to control actions or reactions in your home, as a consumer, I don't care. Just make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But then there will be tons of different standards.
There already are, right?
Yeah. I
mean, so people can tell you, you can use XYZ. No, that's exactly what you define.
But it provides options though, right? Whether it survives or is relevant, time will tell. But I mean, one thing that it really should do is, for the device manufacturers, at least, certification, it reduces a lot of that cost, having to test and, validate against all these different platforms. In terms of market, it expands their market in certain instances, right? It simplifies things for them. So if anything, it provides that benefit. Now, does that enable new platforms? Well, it's the big platforms that got together to make this happen, right? And so, no, it's not going to democratize that in any way. Thread poses to do that a little bit, but again, it's another option. But what's really, I think, really going to be interesting is how these different standards can be leveraged by particular let's call them system integrators or solution companies to architect something that is going to not only be mindful of people's privacy, but is also able to simplify provisioning and stuff like that. Because, it's still super complicated. And what continues to be, I think, disturbing for a lot of people is how many times you have to provision with different entities to get
an application,
an application going, and then how long are these vendors going to be around, or these OEMs and service providers going to be around? You don't know, but you're giving a crap ton of information to them. So it'll be interesting, in particular, to see what Apple does, because they try to anonymize everything. They try to be sort of a broker, right? This consumer scale broker of a lot of different services that you would think would be a component for a smart home solution. It'll be interesting to see what they do, and given the fact that they do support Matter, might matter. We'll see.
I think if by next week, by the next coffee talk, Apple launches a line of home automation things and Bill was to buy, I bet you that the Apple kit to make Bill's home a smart home will be worth more than this house he's in right now. like there will be a second mortgage to be able to bring in all this kit, all in the name of privacy. But jokes aside, Leonard, there's some, and I agree when you said this, the integrator model. I think if you have an integrator that describes a smart home experience, and basically, because remember, Bill doesn't care, right? So the integrator sticks to like, hey, this is what I do. You have a home and I do these things to enable this experience, and you just talk to it. That's it. That's it. They didn't mention standards, hard applications, nothing. Just this is what I do. And Bill doesn't care. And there it goes. And sometimes I get wrapped around the axle because, well, I want to know, what is the integrator using? And what's the hardware? And what's the main, is it going to be around? Like, what's the brains? Will the brains receive updates, or will I have a brick in a month? And then if I replace the brick, now this thing won't talk to it. And, it's, I don't know, this needs like proper go-to-market definition so that you just go for those that don't care.
And David, actually connecting with what you say and with the OTA that you said some minutes ago, I think a lot of companies and these type of consortiums and Apple and so on take care a lot about the hardware and the device itself, but they don't care about the software running the device or the next versions of the software. Right. Or if the software is updated or not.
They don't, but so
and this is even more important, right?
It is. No, because now you're getting back into that other conversation in terms of, the way that mine is done, I was heavily involved in terms of here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's number one is privacy first. Number two is cybersecurity. Number three is, and I went with security first, privacy, and then I got to make sure that every single one of these devices is capable of over-the-air firmware updates. But yes, I believe that there's a service for that, and I believe that there are demographics that are absolutely willing to pay because, Andreea, to your point, the market itself has changed. It's totally changed. And these OEMs that are just device builders, this is why I think matter doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, as a consumer, again, what do I get? What do I get? If it's Matter certified, do I care? No, I don't.
You don't.
I really don't.
If it makes it cheaper.
If it's cheaper, then great. But I don't think that it's going to be any less expensive.
Or the OEM makes more profit. They don't pass the savings on to you, which might be important because you want them to be around and a viable business. So
as we get to the top of the hour, I always ask a serious question, and you can tell by my smirk that is not.
Oh my God! Yeah.
But Bill, with your Josh microphone to voice activate commands in your castle, in your humble abode. I'm curious, what is the trigger? We say Siri, we used to say Cortana, we are about to used to say Alexa. What is the trigger? Are you going to program something like, hey, sweetie pie, turn off the lights? I need to know, Bill. So when I roll into your house, I command the refrigerator to do something for me. What's the trigger?
So I'm trying to work on exactly what our relationship is going to be. So, I haven't decided.
I got a suggestion. Go, hey, man.
I haven't decided yet, but
all right.
But again, to your point, there has to be that relationship. You literally going to have a relationship with your devices.
I recommend, the Spaniards call everyone Tío. I think you should say Tío, turn on the lights. Right? No one's going to mess that up.
Yeah.
But this is the dude, right?
Yeah.
Hey, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, dude.
You know what? I got my first smart plug from the UK, and then I need an adapter connecting here and here. And I don't have it.
Excellent.
That's hilarious.
Well, the good news is, Marc,
this is from a friend.
Interoperability, man.
No, this is from a friend.
Here's the thing. The good thing is that the adapter itself is a commodity because it only does the voltage change, and that's it. So the other end of the sensor should operate as it operates in the UK.
See?
Yeah, but you wind up with a plug that big.
Well, hey man, sometimes you have to move the furniture to accommodate for the plug.
Oh, okay. I got it. That's
in Europe.
Yeah.
In Europe.
Yeah.
Maybe in San Francisco.
That's funny. Well, hey, I'm going to be moderating a podcast on the 8th as part of a QuestTech virtual event with SoundHound. So you guys might find it interesting because we're going to be talking about voice AI. Bill, that whole conversational AI stuff that we were kind of talking about on Bonnie's podcast.
Yes.
I'll be monitoring. And they're doing some cool stuff. And what I really like about what they're doing is they're looking at different types of architectures. Hey, we'll see you. Okay.
See you next week.
Take care. Yeah. Like on-device NLP, conversational AI that has a dynamic aspect to it. And I think you guys will find it interesting. But it's very relevant to the conversations that we've had today. It's kind of cool.
Send me the link.
I will. Oh man, this I got food poisoning over the weekend, and I'm still out of it.
But you
so
know what?
Glad I didn't go to Las Vegas. Oh my!
It's good for sudden and accelerated weight loss.
Yes.
So when you're done, you go into the closet and you just look for the skinny jeans and you go, I can do this.
I can fit. Yeah. You know what I realize is how bloated I am all the time.
Oh boy.
Oh, come
and
on.
with that,
you know what? You're learning something about the less fair sex here. Andrea. Yeah, we get bloated. At least I do. Too much information, right? Yeah. So hey, this was a fun, really interesting conversation. I'm glad we jumped on and did this. So who wants to close us out? You want me to do it? I don't know if I'm mentally there to close us out. So maybe Bill, you do it. You don't do it very often.
Yeah, Bill.
All right. Look, everybody out there listening to this, gaining your education about connecting your homes, improving your network connections, all of the devices, my relationship with my connected home, listening to my colleagues here and expound on all of this. You too can experience the quarter blood technique. Get out there, be on the leading edge, hit that like button, come back, listen to us every week, and we'll see you next week.
All right, we're out of here. Take care.
Thank you.
Be safe, people.